time, we'll call to order the regular city council meeting for January 24th, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Piper, thank you for filling in this evening. Could you let the roll call show that everyone is present?
We're good.
Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of city council minutes, January 10th, 2022. Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. No bills this evening. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to amend the new business agenda items to add an extra agenda item, if I may.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add agenda item number 3 titled Public Communication and Social Media Outreach. This agenda item will directly address the social media outreach campaign and outreach for the city, as well as explore through discussion additional options to reach the public through SMS or text message alerts in case of an emergency situation. I feel that due to the recent emergency situation that happened over the weekend, it is important and imperative to identify and implement options to improve the communication to our residents and business owners so that they are better informed.
Councilmember Kennedy?
I'll move the agenda as amended.
Well, I believe we're looking for a second on that, correct?
No, my apologies. I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to add communication between city and its residents to the agenda this evening. Ms. Piper, could you lead us in a roll call vote on that?
Sure. Lisa Dilk?
Yes.
Alex Hansen?
Yes.
Glenn Kibble?
Yes.
Lori Mosier?
Yes.
Steve Kennedy?
Yes.
Maggie Kurtzwell?
Yes.
And Mayor Dan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. No consent agenda this evening. And so with that, we will open the floor for public comment this evening. Please remember to state your name and remember our 2-minute time limit. We will have a second public comment at the end of the evening as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Do we need to approve the agenda still? I don't know that we actually did that, did we?
Approved it as amended.
Did I miss that?
Yeah.
He did, he said it before we agreed to add.
Forgive me, I came in here up against it. So we added it, but did we not approve the agenda?
Correct.
Okay, I apologize, my bad.
I'll make the motion once again to approve the agenda as amended.
As amended.
Thank you. And then I will look for a second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Councilmember Dilg. Again, we have nothing on the consent agenda, and we'll move on to the public comment this evening. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay, we will close the floor for public comment at this time. We'll move on to the discussion of downtown and Mr. Nate Mack.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, last week we had the farmers market manager interviews. I extended an offer to one of the candidates today, pending all the pre-employment things that we have to complete before they're brought on board. We should hopefully have, that full update for you at the next meeting. But I'm very excited about the individual that we're extending the offer to. They have over 10 years of nonprofit executive leadership experience, so they should be bringing a lot to the farmers market. The DDA Promotions Committee met last week, again, to continue planning for the March 5th event. Just a quick update on that. It's going to be called the South Lyon Carnival. We've gotten a few sponsorships in place, and I've reached out to all the restaurants and bars in the downtown area, and I've gotten commitments from 5 of them so far to participate in the event by either offering a special or doing something along those lines. The DDA Design Committee met as well. We went over some budget priorities, which include the Pocket Park and some other, design-related items for the downtown. But another thing I wanted to bring up was this week we're going to be walking through the downtown, kind of identifying some areas that, we could potentially use to clean up in the springtime. And the design committee is going to look to host like a downtown cleanup day event in the spring. So we're going to start planning, working on that, and we'll go from there. But I won't take much more of your time. I have another item on the agenda later. So thanks.
Does anyone have anything for Nate?
Just really
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just really quickly on the South Lyon Carnival, is it going to be, are we going to shut down roads? What is the plan for it?
So I don't think we're going to be able to shut down the roads for this event, but we're going to be trying to, we're going to be getting some street performers. We have the magician coming back from the Christmas event. We've gotten a few food trucks who are going to participate, as well as restaurant participation. So
Awesome.
It's just going to kind of try and be like a celebration.
And are we going to try to get the stores to stay open and things
Yep.
like that?
The event will be from 4 to 7 on that day.
Oh, okay, great.
So.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, thanks, Nate.
Thanks.
We'll see you in a bit. We'll move on to the fire chief report. Deputy Chief Weir, thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. For the fire chief report, I don't have a whole lot for you, other than we have one trained previous employee that has reapplied, so we'll be looking forward to getting them through the hiring process. I don't expect there to be any hiccups with that, so thankfully we're going to get another trained firefighter back on the roster. And then this week, you should have received a copy of our annual report. I was able to get that completed last week and distributed to the council. I'm just going to breeze through with a couple of highlights, and certainly if anybody has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address those with you. So we did run a career high 1,058 calls for service, which was about a 20% increase over last year's numbers. We were able to install 56 smoke detectors and 4 carbon monoxide alarms. We also received a total of 200 smoke detectors donated through the Michigan Safe Grant. So, as you know, in the past few years, we've made a really hard push, especially in the high-risk populations, the elderly community, and that reaching out and getting those smoke detectors installed. So I think that's why we see a lower number installed here than we have in past years. We've hit all of those kind of high-risk areas. But we still, as we have in the past, have that program available for any city residents to get free smoke detectors installed by our firefighters. Our firefighters completed a total of 3,135 hours of training this year. Those numbers are also down, and that is directly attributed to the lack of applications and new hires going through the process. We just didn't have as many people in school this year. We didn't have nearly as many firefighters going through the fire academy or EMT as we have in previous years. My staff and I are currently brainstorming recruitment techniques and things to kind of get those numbers back up, which I fully expect to see those numbers to be higher this year, as I have a whole lot of people in the chute that need that training. So Fire Academy and EMT are a significant amount of training hours, and that's why we see that kind of dip for those numbers. We also participated in 43 public education and community engagement events. I have no doubt that everybody's seen fire trucks at the Lake Street Cruise-In and Pumpkin Fest and all the parades. So the staff has been doing a great job keeping up on that. And you may have also noticed that at the varsity football games that Huron Valley Ambulance has not had a staffed ambulance there. Their leadership specifically reached out and stated that they were unable to staff that, and the high school asked if we would continue to do so, which we have in the past and continue to do so this year and will in the future. And we don't charge for that. That is just a service that we provide with our on-call staff. And one of the biggest projects that we were able to tackle last year was completing the ordering of ladder 7-1. Myself and Captain Armstrong and Sergeant Buchanan spent 3 days in Charlotte, Michigan, doing a really in-depth meeting with Spartan and their members, kind of going over every nut and bolt of the new aerial truck. So that was a significant amount of work went into that project, and last week I was informed that they have the project in line for a scheduled build date. That build date hasn't been given to me yet, but they are expecting it to start in the next month or two for the cab chassis. So I imagine we'll see that roll into town sometime late this year, provided there's no hiccups with part acquisition. We did have a total of 16 structure fires. The majority of those were mutual aid. And our total property loss within city limits was only $57,200. So I think that's a fantastic number to see as far as property loss goes. It's been significantly higher in previous years. We were lucky enough to not have any commercial structure fires. And to that end, really we didn't have any residential structure fires that required total demolition after the fact. So the majority of the fire events that we had last year were what we call room and content, so smaller, contained, and that's just a huge part of our quick response time. We're able to get there before it becomes a larger fire event in most of those incidents. As usual, the majority of the incidents that we respond to are medical in nature, a total of 654 for 2021, and the rest were fire and hazardous conditions, good and tech calls, that sort of thing. I did take a page to highlight our firefighter of the year. I did speak about Tim last year. And I feel that it's just so important to recognize the efforts of our staff. Tim's been a long-standing member with this department, been here the longest that anybody has been on our current roster since 1998. So just wanted to throw an extra thank you out there to Tim for his efforts and continued efforts going forward. And with that, I don't think I have anything else that was major. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to address those.
Councilor Kennedy, go ahead.
Mike, real quick, you mentioned that you've got a bunch of the smoke detectors available. Are there any carbon monoxide alarms as well, or just the smoke detectors?
We have a small number of carbon monoxide alarms,
okay.
And as we tend to use those more in a, when we get dispatched to a carbon monoxide alarm, if somebody has a faulty detector, we'll replace it.
Okay.
When we go on those types of incidents.
Okay.
They're just significantly more expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Require,
right.
So.
On the medical calls that you had, you said you had 654 this past year. You were up 20% overall on all the calls. Do you know what the increase was on medical calls by chance? I don't know if you've got that called out separately.
Off the top of my head, I don't. I can certainly get that figure for you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if it was, commensurate with the 20% overall, or you're starting to see more and more of those creep up.
Well, and you'll notice I did a study over the last 5 years or so, from 2016 to 2021, and you can see a steady trend increase in calls for service, and you'll see that number dip in 2020, and that is directly related to the shutdown. So less people going out, less accidents, so on and so forth. So I think we would have seen that continued trend had 2020 not happened the way that it did.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Deputy Chief. You do an incredible job. And I think everyone in the city is very, very appreciative of everything that you and the staff does. On another issue, I just wanted to know what your protocol was for when firefighters lose their life like we had over the weekend out east. Will the city be sending condolences? What will they do to sort of let people out east know that the people in South Lyon are also mourning for the loss of their firefighters.
That's certainly something that I would entertain looking into. Typically, you'll see much more of a regional response. You know, if somebody in Michigan happens, where we have a little bit more involvement than we would with somebody states away. But I'm certainly not opposed to reaching out.
This was a horrible death, and 3 of them are gone, and there could be another one. So I would think that from just a humanity standpoint, that the city of South Lyon could at least in a letter, send our condolences and our prayers and our thoughts to those firefighters and their families.
Certainly be happy to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to also thank you for holding down the fort for us and keeping everything rolling while we're looking for a chief. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on to the police chief report and Chief Sovic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just get right to it as far as the report goes. You guys have the annual report there. It's always a pleasure putting this together for you. And a big thank you to Brianne Sires, my administrative assistant, who just kind of takes the information and just makes it look nice and presentable. So I provide most of the content. She provides the other stuff. So it's a great partnership that we have with her. For us, it's very simple. The mission statement, when I first got here, it was long, 5 or 6 sentences. No one really knew what it was and didn't really believe it. It was kind of some fluff that we kind of threw together. So we took over as chief. We kind of made it very simple, something that we all believe in. Provided excellent law enforcement services while partnering and strengthening our partnership with the community. Very simple. Everybody knows it. It's what we do. Everyone recognizes it. So we believe it and we embrace it. 1,940 self-initiated contacts with our business owners, our citizens, visitors passing through, people in subdivisions, people in parks stopping to say hi, getting an evaluation, hey, how is the police department doing? Anything we can do better? Sometimes they give us some good stuff, sometimes they don't, sometimes they just thank us, but for the most part, strengthen that partnership with the community is something that's it's really near and dear to us and something that we do all the time. So with every shift, these guys do at least 1 to 3 of these stops or these contacts just to kind of strengthen what we have with them. So I can tell you, me personally, I'm thankful that I do work in the city here, in such a city, and have your support. And I think the people of the city of South Lyon really do support, and they support us. They show us they support us, but I think they like our style of policing and the way that we handle our business. So very thankful for that. Just a couple of points. The accreditation is something that we've been focusing on since early in this year. It's usually a 3-year process. We're going to hope to get through it in 18 months. I think right now there's 62 departments in Michigan that are through this process right now. They're going through it. 40 are accredited, and then you get reaccredited every 3 years. So it's a very demanding process. I do think that the state's going to actually require probably every police department eventually down the road because of what it represents, and it kind of saves city from liability and the best policies and practices. So I think it's going to be something that we're going to be seeing here, but we're ahead of the game. Sergeant Cedarlin, he's a cross your T, dot your I kind of guy. He's really the right person for this job. He's been working on it full time. So as well as doing some of the follow-up in our detective work right now with the situation we have going on right now. So hopefully 3 months we're going to apply for it, and this year in probably September we should be a fully accredited agency by then. So good things coming from there. First Responder Monument Fund, it was initially going to be about $30,000. We're kind of rethinking that maybe we don't need the big steel structure. It's going to be something that's going to be very costly at this point. We're looking into some alternative options. Something's going to be less expensive but look just as nice and last just as long. So currently we have about $7,183 toward that fund right now, and we're just going to keep on selling challenge coins, and I believe there's going to be a motorcycle club that's going to be doing a benefit run in the spring that usually brings in some pretty good money, so we're looking forward to that and getting that completed. I believe the monument's supposed to be dedicated on 9/11 of this year, so looking forward to that. You see the response to resistance. There's 9 incidents. It's the same thing as use of force. With everything going on nowadays, people don't like to hear the word force or use of force, so it's a response to resistance. We had 9 incidents. They're kind of detailed in there. If you guys have any questions, get a hold of me, send me an email, or stop by. I'll try to explain those to you. But same numbers last year. And in response to resistance is anything more than verbal commands. If we give verbal commands, they're not good with the orders that we give them, so to speak, in better words, then there's going to be a second step. Anytime we take a holster from our I mean, we actually take a taser from our holster. That's a response to resistance. That's a level of force. Anytime you take a weapon from your holster, that's also a use of force. That's a response. So they're they're detailed in there. You guys can take a look at those if you need anything else. Naloxone, Narcan, 3 administrations this year. 23-year-old, 25-year-old, and 52-year-old white males, all overdosing heroin and other opioids. They came back, and so by the time they were actually put onto the gurney, they were breathing, they were responsive. So this stuff does work. I'm thankful that you guys allow us to carry that. It's been great. 0 complaints filed against our officers this year, as many years in the past, so we're very proud of that. And we just continue to make improvements and upgrades to our current hardware, our equipment, stuff that makes our job easier, and the aging buildings that we have. And finally, the SRO has been working out really well. It's been great, a great response from the people, the citizens, and from the schools and the administration and staff. So that's it, Mr. Mayor, in a nutshell.
Excellent job, Chief. Anyone got anything for Chief? Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Chris, you said you've had about 7,000 on the challenge coins so far towards the First Responders Monument. Was that something?
It's a combination of the coins and just people making donations.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it just for the police department, or is that combined with the fire department? Or?
Oh, no, that's everything. I'm sorry. That's
Okay.
just everything.
Okay.
Selling our coins and donations for the monument.
Okay, great. Hopefully we get more people getting involved with that, so thanks.
Sure.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you. Chief, I just wanted to make a comment and sort of pass it along to the community. I would like to thank our community, our residents that live here, that have a obvious respect for law enforcement. I think some of the numbers that are very positive for the police department are directly related to the fact that we live in a community that respects law and order, that respects law enforcement, that we have young adults that are being raised by families that are teaching them the difference between right and wrong. I know when I was growing up, first thing my dad did to me and all my brothers and sisters is pulled us aside and said, if a police officer ever stops you in a car, this is what you do. I don't know if he had a crystal ball and saw into the future of what 8 kids could possibly get into, but we were raised with respect for law enforcement. That's the point. And I think that those numbers clearly are reflective that you are in a community, and I want to thank the community and the parents that are raising their children with good ethics and good morals in respecting law enforcement.
Yeah, like I said, this is a great community to work in. And you ask any one of our officers, that's where we have long retention rates, because it's a great community, great benefits, and we're invested. Even though we don't live here, we're invested, and so it shows. And we do thank you that we are thankful that we live in this community that we live in. This is, they used to say in our paycheck's the best little city, and it is. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this.
Councilmember Kibble.
I think you're right. I think you guys having the relationship that you do with this community is integral to how well people behave and how they respond to you when somebody does have a little dust up. So I think that's sort of part and parcel of that training. I was just kind of curious. I happened to walk over and took a look at the pad. Are you getting closer?
We're ready. They said late January, early February, so
okay.
I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks, but it's been prepped and ready to go for a while now. So we're excited about having that.
I'm sure you were. I thought that you had said it was going to be in mid-January last time I talked to you, but...
how things go, and a lot of times I can't get people to work, and, but we're still hoping for January sometime, and we'll see. I'll let the city manager know when it's installed.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything for Chief? All right, thanks, Chief.
Sure.
No unfinished business this evening, so we'll move on to new business. Number 1, Oakland County Grant Resolution.
All right, so as part of the requirements for the Oakland County Parks and Recreation grant that I submitted a couple of weeks ago is the governing body must pass a resolution basically authorizing the city to apply for the grant. It kind of lets the county know that the council is aware of it, they're in support of the grant project, the project that we're hoping to work on, and in order to complete the grant, the attached resolution has to be passed by the city council if they so wish. If not, then that's their purview as well. So if there's any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them. Any project details?
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. So is the total cost of doing everything on the back, is that 150, or is it just to start it?
That's just to start it. The quote I received for the entire project is $405,000.
Okay, 405.
Yep. And what I submitted for in the grant is to get the work started, so that's mobilization, clearing out concrete, getting, the site prepped to do the work, and then going from there, so.
So the grant is 450?
The grant is 150.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So in order to move that along, are you anticipating applying for another grant to finish it off, or do you
Yep.
anticipate coming to the city and asking for financial, I'm just trying to figure out the big picture financially.
Yep. So as of right now, we'll be coming to the city asking for $50,000, which is the matching portion. The required 25% match. I went a little bit above that. But if we were to get this grant, we could use it to apply for other grants, showing that we have the support from both the city and the county, and that would allow us to hopefully fill in the gaps that we have there.
Okay, on the drawing on the back, just a couple of comments. Are you putting in a irrigation system?
Yeah, there would be irrigation there.
There'll be irrigation in there?
Yep.
Okay. The second question I had is, there are, I see where you have the benches, but, they have a bench out there that the back of it will fold forward and it will form a picnic table.
Okay.
So I'll get pictures of those, and maybe you could take that in consideration so that people could step over here, have a picnic with their kids, and then all you have to do is just flip the thing back and you've got a bench. So there's that. The additional thing is, I see where you have perennials going in and shrubs going in. You may want to sort of take a look at some drought-resistant plant material, because we are getting, the climate is getting a little bit drier. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a heavy-duty gardener, and I'm telling you, the past 5 years, it's been a different environment to garden in. And so I see what you have anticipated to plant in here. You might want to, since that's so close to sidewalk and a lot of heat, you may want to think about something a little bit more drought-resistant, sedum, ornamental grasses instead of maybe, something like that. Other than that, I love the design. I think it looks great, and I'm excited for this. I can hardly wait.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
The grant obligates us to satisfying the obligation in 3 years. If we've only got a third of what the cost of that park is it simply to do we have it delineated what is part of the 150,000?
Yep, I included that in the grant application.
I just wanted to make sure that we're not, step to step, that we're not...
The first stuff that needs to be completed, I made sure that was in the grant, and then we can go from there as we need to complete other projects.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
I'd like to move to approve the resolution authorizing the city of South Lyon to apply for the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Trailways and Park Improvements Grant Program.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kurtzwell, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Do we have any further discussion? Deputy Clerk Piper, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Glenn Kivel,
Yes.
Lisa Dilg,
Yes.
Alex Hansen,
Yes.
Steve Kennedy,
Yes.
Maggie Kurtzwell,
Yes?
Lori Mosier,
Yes.
and Mayor Dan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
New business number 2 this evening, 2022-2023 budget meeting dates.
Each year, the City Council sets dates for our budget meetings to discuss the upcoming 2022-2023 budget. This year, we are proposing to hold our pre-budget meeting sometime within the first 2 weeks of March. At this meeting, we plan on discussing the potential uses of the ARPA funds we will be receiving from the federal government. Our regular budget meeting, we will discuss the proposed 2022-2023 budget, and is planned to be held during the first week of April. I've attached for your review calendars for the month of March and April, highlighted within the specific weeks in which we're to have a meeting. Tonight, we would need a motion and a support regarding approving these dates. For both of these meetings, we expect that we'll be bringing in a light dinner for council. The first meeting, I expect would last between 1 and 2 hours, and then the second budget meeting, I would expect to last approximately 2 hours. The question is what dates work specifically for council or what dates do not work for council, so we can start crossing out some of those dates and be able to set an exact date and time. Most of these meetings have begun at 6 p.m.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say,
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
I'm not available at all on March 10th.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
I can work around any of these dates